We're back at our house and the sourdough starter is ready to go. So we're gonna start whipping together a chocolate sourdough loaf. Yeah, we are. Start off by blooming 50 grams of Dutch processed cocoa powder in 100 grams of a hot liquid. We're gonna be using coffee for today's loaf. So weighing out 50 grams. And now pouring in 100 grams of leftover coffee from this morning. Get that all mixed together until it makes kind of a paste, and then we're gonna leave that to bloom for just a couple of minutes. Oh, it smells so chocolatey. So we're gonna set that aside, come back in a couple minutes. That's been resting for a couple of minutes, so now we're gonna go ahead and add in our starter, going in with 150 grams. Now we're going in with water, about 350 grams. Now we're also going in with some vanilla. I have some vanilla bean paste this time, about a teaspoon or so. And then finally we're going in with brown sugar, about 30 grams. That all whisked together until the starter is fully dissolved and the sugar's kind of started to dissolve a little bit as well. Now we're going with our flour, 500 grams of bread flour, which I don't know if I have enough, so we might be doing a little bit of a combination of flours here. Yeah, I only had 300 grams of bread flour, so we're gonna do a little mix and matching now. I'm gonna put in a little bit of this flour, which is the fresh ground wheat from my friends that they gave to me. So I'm gonna put in like 50 grams or so of that. And then just finish the rest with all purpose until we reach 500 grams total. And our last ingredient, 10 grams of sea salt. Gonna get that all nice and combined until it's no dry flour in the bowl. Then we're gonna cover it and leave it to rest until we come back for some stretch and folds. Having a counter this height, that's like the height for normal people, like at my waist, feels so weird. All right, all nice and mixed up. So we're gonna cover that and we'll come back in an hour. It's been an hour, so we are back for the first round of stretch and folds. I wet my hands a bit before I do this because it's pretty sticky on the first round of them usually, but after a couple of rounds, you get those gluten networks built up and it's not so bad. So we're gonna do 4 turns of the bowl and then cover it back up, leave it for another hour. I'm gonna add the chocolate chips in on the second one, and then we'll do a third and leave it for the bulk fermentation. Quick intermission to appreciate the sunset. It's time for our second round of stretch and fold. So we're gonna add in some chocolate chips at this point. You're gonna add in anywhere from like 100 to 130 grams. And I'm just gonna gradually add them in through the stretch and folds. All right, cover it up, leave it for 1 more hour, and we're gonna do 1 final stretch and fold, and then bulk fermentation.
Since he's my stepdad, he's technically not family. He's more like a hostage.
Last night we got way too distracted watching the wedding date, and so I didn't film the third set of stretch and folds, but we did it, and I ended up being too tired to stay up late enough to shape it last night. So I just tossed it in the fridge and I pulled it out about an hour ago to let it kind of get semi up to room temp again. And we're gonna start shaping and then we're gonna bake it in a couple hours. A lot of people have asked recently about why you do 2 shapings with it. So the pre-shaping is just kind of to help wake those gluten networks up again and get them kind of going and woken up. And then the final shaping is really to help get that final shape and create a nice oven spring in your bread and give it that really good rise. And also it helps with forming an ear. If that's something that you're interested in, having lots of surface tension, which can be achieved by multiple shapings, will help you on your goal to creating a nice ear. All Okay, so I'm gonna leave that, let it get nice and relaxed a bit, and then we'll come back for a final shaping. The dough's been resting for about 30 minutes, so we're gonna go ahead and do our final shaping and get it into its proofing basket so it can rest while we preheat the oven. So now we're gonna leave this to finish its final proof, probably for about an hour or so, while we get the oven preheated, and then we'll come back for another baking video. The oven has been preheating for about an hour, so it's time for us to get started with our bread. Oven's at 450. We're gonna put this back in for 20 minutes, lower the temperature and take the lid off, and then we'll have bread ready. A little bit got stuck at the bottom, but I don't have a wire cooling rack here, so I'm just kind of creating, you know, do with what you got. I got a call this morning that made me come home a bit earlier. My daughter and her dad are both sick and not feeling good, but needless to say, the bread turned out incredible. I mean, that screams perfection to me. The fact that I'm not here enjoying this with her breaks my heart, but you know what? The fact that she's enjoying it rebuilds it nonetheless. So, another chocolate sourdough success.